you and me and a couple others. So
All right.
we'll give
Well, they
us we'll
heard
give
Uncle
us
Marv is on the show and said, we can skip.
I hope not. Hey, if you got this part of the video, you've got the live unedited edition Home Gadget Geeks Thursday night. It's the 10th of April. It's 8 p.m. or yeah, it is 8 p.m. right now in the Central Time Zone. If you've got this any other time than that, you've got the recorded version of it on my live channel. Just hang around. We'll get started here in just a second. And I've got Uncle Marv with me. Marv, always great to have you on. I always look forward to it. Welcome.
Good to be back.
Yeah, good to have you. We do some pre-show pours, whatever that means. You're kind of getting healthy these days.
Yeah.
So like what are you drinking? What do you in a healthy state? What do you drink?
What do I drink? Well, it's
Yeah.
more of what I don't drink
Okay.
anymore.
Right.
So I've definitely have cut back on the soda. That was the first thing.
Yeah.
And I used to drink multiple cans and bottles a day. So now I'm down to at max one a day.
Okay.
And
Good.
I eventually want to work that down to one a week and then none. So, but in order to do that, I got hooked up to this app called Yuka, Y-U-K-A.
Oh.
And what it does is it allows me to scan the barcodes on foods and drinks. And it tells me what's healthy or not, but it's based on, how many chemicals, how many preservatives, all of that sort of stuff in there. So I've gotten to the point where Dr. Pepper is the best of the worst when it comes to sodas. So, I mean,
just because of the chemicals that aren't in it, basically, right?
yes, yeah. Sugar, all of that stuff. I mean, even ginger ale gets a 0 out of 100. You probably can't see that on the screen there.
There you go. Yeah.
But it's got all of this is a color-coded system. It ranks food and drinks from 0 to 100.
Okay.
The higher score, the better. And ginger ale, all the negatives include the additives, the calories, too caloric, too sweet. It has a bunch of what they call high-risk additives. And then you can go and dig deep if you want to. But the app does also give alternatives as to, well, if you like this and it's bad, here's the good version of it.
What's the good version for ginger ale?
So there is a ginger ale that is made by Zura, Z-E-U-R-A. And it actually, Zevia, Z-E-V-I-A. And it actually has a score of 65 out of 100. And it only has one limited risk with 2 additives. And it has 0 calories, 0 saturated fat, 0 sugar, 0 sodium.
0 taste.
Probably 0 taste.
And no enjoyment.
Yeah.
No enjoyment for you.
So that has been the hardest thing. And what's funny, all of these so-called healthy waters are just as bad as the sodas.
Really?
Yes. So we went through several waters before we came across bubbly outside of even tap water. Of course, we know about tap water, but tap water is better than half the waters that are on the shelves.
Probably so. Yeah.
So
Zevia available at Walmart. So it's got a wide distribution. Sometimes those alternatives, are
right.
Like, you got to order it and it's $1 million, or you got to find it. It's in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and you're like, I don't get there, right?
Or it's in those health stores.
Yeah.
That
you're afraid to go in. You're afraid because they're judging you the second you walk in there.
Yeah. Well, we went to one. I forget the name of it because I've only been there like 2 or 3 times. It's not Whole Foods. It's something called like, I don't know, Shafts or Shorts or something. It's a weird name like that. And what's funny is half the food in there ends up in the red zone on these apps as well.
We don't have a lot of good food left. No. Yeah. No. So what are you drinking? So I assume you have water, or what are you drinking tonight?
Well, tonight I went to the fridge and I almost panicked because I'm like, I don't have a drink.
Okay.
So I have my very last Yingling Lager.
Yeah, that's a good one.
The
That's a
very
good one.
last one.
Okay.
So
Well, what does the app say about that?
it does actually. I don't think it.
How many?
Yes,
How
it
many?
does. Let
Does
me
it have
bring up the.
beer and alcohol? Like if does it have bourbon? What I'm drinking some Jefferson's bourbon tonight.
So
What
here we
would it
go.
say about that?
So I just scanned it,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
Yucca does not rate alcohol, but you
Okay.
already know what you're doing.
That's hilarious. All right. No, so no alcohol. Yeah.
Yep.
You do know what you're doing. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's
And
good
then
stuff.
and then
It's
I've
really good
got
stuff.
my cup of water here.
Okay. It's a good call. Yeah, I have mason jars that I use down here because they're thick and they don't tip over as easy, right?
Yeah.
They have a big fat bottom and kind of like me, big fat bottom. And so they just hold up. They,
Fat bottom boys.
that's right. You know, they podcast the world, right? Fat
Yeah.
bottom boys. Old iron butt, I think that's what they called. Old iron Walter Cronkite, I think was called that, old iron butt.
Oh,
He sat for like he did a TV newscast for like 14 hours. It was a NASA launch that got delayed or there were some problems and he literally sat there for like 12 or 14 hours or something. Some crazy. They called him old iron butt.
wow.
Well, okay, we've got our drinks out of the way. Let's get into this thing and
I'm sorry. Sprouts was the name of that store that I couldn't remember. But
Sprouts. That's
yes.
where you got the
So we went and got a bunch of food there. We found some very healthy chips and that sort of stuff. There's healthy bread, and we went there looking for cauliflower pizza crust.
yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. No, I'm aware of it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Did you find it?
We did.
We did. Was it $1 million or was it pretty reasonably
It was
priced?
more than it should have been.
Yeah, yeah. That's the trouble. You got to really, if you're going to go organic or healthy, you got to be ready to pay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the sodas and the sugar waters and the processed food, the snacks. I've heard on several podcasts now that the snack industry, because of all the financial turmoil we're in at the moment, is suffering. And so, they're worried about the snacks. Well, those snacks are like Twinkies and Ho Hos and, those kinds of snack chips, right?
Yeah, those
That,
things are
although
gonna
chips
be
are
fine.
not cheap, like
No, they're not.
oof,
But
Doritos, like that's
health
a
food falls into that category of discretionary spending.
yeah,
Um, real snacks don't. The ice cream, the
yeah,
pizza,
yeah.
people aren't giving that
Ooh,
up.
I've got some ice cream in the fridge or the freezer that Sarah got for me, and I haven't eaten it yet. I think that's going to be after the show because there's
Oh,
nothing says bad choices like ice cream at 9:30, right?
oh, that's true.
That's true. Yeah. Well, right on. Okay. Well, let's get this. We'll get the chat open. Brian checked in. If you're out there in chat, let us know. It doesn't look like too many tonight. It seemed like a quiet night on Discord tonight. So I was like, well, maybe everybody's. The weather here in Nebraska is beautiful right now. This is the time we get outside. You're probably already in the summer heat, right?
Well, we're starting to get our summer showers already.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
rolling in.
Yeah.
But it's been March Madness is over, so people have
Mhm.
probably worn themselves out the last couple of weekends.
It's a lot. It's a
Yeah.
lot of basketball. That is just a lot of basketball. Yeah, I'm exhausted. I do not know. Tomorrow I'm working half a day and then in theory I'm supposed to have a tree being taken down tomorrow
Oh,
afternoon. So I wanted to be here for that. A buddy of mine's doing it, but
is it a
wanted I
is
want
it a dying tree or
yeah, it's an ash tree that's got that ash borer.
okay?
And I want to take it down before it becomes a problem. It was too close to the houses to begin with. It's in between my neighbor and I, and it's leaning towards his. And so I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's gonna be your problem, but I'm gonna save you. And we'll just cut it down now.
Well,
And
nice of you to have a friend to help. We took down two gumbo limbos in our backyard
hmm,
that were dying after the hurricanes,
yeah,
and that was not cheap.
no, no, yeah, it's not free, but he's actually a listener to the show and good guy. So I always appreciate he's good value. Let's put it that way. It's a good value. So the power company is supposed to come out today and take the line down. That's not a it's a line that runs to the street for the light, and that was supposed to come down today, but didn't. So I'm like, well, are we going to be able to take this thing down tomorrow? So we'll have to see. That's maybe my tomorrow. All right, let me kick this thing off. Yeah, here we go. This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geeks, show number 642 with Marv B, recorded on April 10th, 2025. Here on Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all the favorite tech gadgets that find their way into your home. News, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the average tech guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the AverageGuy.tv studios here in a beautiful Bellevue, Nebraska. Marv, my favorite time of the year is right now, at least in Nebraska. Beautiful weather, no bugs. I know you're getting rain, and but you did the bugs ever go away in Florida? Do you have bugs all year
all year round, all year round. Maybe a week in January.
Or right after a freeze that lasts for 2 hours, right? You
Yeah.
get a little it goes 32, you get a little ice on the
Now, the same nights that the iguanas freeze, that's probably the same night.
Yeah, we get a hard freeze up here and a long hard freeze, and the bugs go away, and so you have this window. It's like mid-March to maybe early May where the evenings are beautiful and there's no bugs for the most part, no mosquitoes, and you can go outside and it's wonderful. And then I don't know what changes. One day you go outside and it's just you don't call it bug-a-ha for nothing where I live. So but it's nothing like Florida. So I'm not trying to compare. Okay, not trying to compare to what's going on there. Well, anyways, we'll broadcast we'll post the show with some world-class show notes. And we got a few tonight with Marv out at the AverageGuy.tv. Big thanks to our Patreon subscribers. Appreciate you guys each and every month. Very faithful. If you want to join that team, the AverageGuy.tv/Patreon. We'll get you there. And then a big thanks for using the affiliate links that are posted on the site. If you head over to the AverageGuy.tv upper right-hand corner, there's a little box that says, as an Amazon associate, I earn from qualifying purchases. Click on that. Click through it. I don't have to do anything else. It sets it. Although, Marv, tonight, I think you gave me some links. They'll have your affiliate link in there.
Okay.
So purchasing through that, Marv will get the credit for it. But appreciate you doing those things and making that work for everybody in the system. And then big thanks to Ed Sullivan, who joined us last week as he was moving from his Tesla to his new Cadillac, which I never thought I'd hear the word Cadillac ever again from anybody. But he did it. Marv, did you listen to that?
Especially in the world of EV, it sounds counterproductive.
He said that. We were talking about that. We've been talking about it for months. He ordered that months ago, and it just finally came in, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, I think I'm going to pick a Cadillac. I said, are you joking? Like, I laughed. Ha ha ha. Yeah, sure you are. What are you really going to pick? And he's like, a Cadillac. And I was like, I know you're not. But sure enough, he loves it. So yeah. Did you get a chance to listen to the show? Did you hear that?
I heard a little bit of it. And at first I'm thinking this show isn't going to interest me because I'm at that point. I'm the guy where I'm thinking I'm going to die with a gas vehicle.
Yeah.
So I just purchased a Jeep last year.
Yep.
Even though it's a 2021, I'm thinking, okay, I usually keep my Jeeps 10 years. And by then I figured we should be over this EV craze and people will start moving back to gas powered vehicles.
Yeah.
And so my next Jeep will still be gas powered without all the smart gadgets. That's more what I'm worried about is all the smart gadgets that come with these vehicles.
Yeah. You really think they're going to go away?
No, they're not.
No, I think they're here to stay.
It's just me wishful thinking. So.
Yeah. Well, I think we all thought, excuse me, I was drinking some water. It wasn't the whiskey. It was the water that got to me. I think we all thought for a while that it was going to go really fast. Like this EV stuff's just going to cut over and they're gone, But I think they're going to hang on a little bit longer. I mean, I think it's going to be a 20 or 25 year cutover, maybe. If maybe it won't completely cut over,
I think that there is a huge market for these vehicles, and they really do make sense in certain areas. you don't have to have gas, but I
Yeah.
still think gas makes sense and won't go away. So there will be a balance, I think, that will happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. It'll be interesting to see what comes out of those. And I mean, some of the technologies we haven't even thought of yet, that'll get included in some of those. So I have a 21 Legacy, Subaru Legacy. I plan to hold on to that vehicle just as long as I possibly can, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we'll see from there. Maybe at some point, if I can get it long enough, Sarah and I will consolidate down to a single vehicle and call it good. And that'd be a good time to go electric, in a place that'll take care of us for a while, kind of deal, and then eventually get rid of that, right?
Yeah.
So,
I'm hoping,
who
to be
knows?
honest, I'm
Yeah,
hoping that solar becomes enough that our roofs of our cars are solar
yeah, yeah,
combined with gas. We won't have to worry about these battery issues that I think
yeah.
we're going to have a trouble with
Mm,
coming up. Where do you dispose of these batteries? That's
right.
my thing. They're
Yeah, we
already, we're in IT, so we already have battery disposal issues as it is.
yeah, yeah. Joe's out in chat. He says he's enjoying his Model Y.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean they're enjoyable cars. They're great. I mean, the this is the thing. Like I have tried to find the value in both. For people who have gone EV, awesome. For people who want to keep their gas cars, awesome. Like it doesn't need to. This isn't Java versus .NET. This isn't Microsoft versus Apple. It doesn't have to be that way, right? Or what?
Not,
Android versus Apple.
not Netscape versus Internet Explorer.
Right, exactly. We don't have to fight about this. They're both great. They do things the way people want them to. I think. I mean, I think I still want to live in a world where I get a really good hybrid. And I'm not talking about like I had the '06 Civic that I had for a lot of years. That was not a good hybrid. Like it got me there, but barely. And I'd love more of, I love that gas or I mean it could be any form of natural gas or hydrogen or some of those kinds of things with some batteries to store it in for the longer ranges. You maybe run that and the engine runs and charges it back up, or like you're saying, we get some solar capabilities, out of the car or out of the road, right? So
Yeah.
I think there's just a lot of, I think there's still a lot of great things ahead. We just don't need to fight about our cars, right? I mean,
No,
we don't need to fight about our
we don't
cars.
need to fight about a lot of things in life.
That's true. That's true. Except whiskey. I will fight for whiskey. No, I'm just kidding. So, anyways, big thanks to Ed who came on last week. He's back in a couple weeks. I'll talk about some upcoming guests here. He's back in a couple weeks talking about some of the accessories he's bought for that car. Well, you've heard from already. We know him as Uncle Marv, but Marv B's hanging out with me tonight. Marv, welcome. Good to have you here.
Thanks for having me back.
How's the podcast? What are you doing? How's it going? Are you daily with
I'm,
the IT? With the
so technically no,
Okay.
but I'm in one of those stretches where I am posting once or twice a day because I just finished 2 conferences and I get to record at those conferences. And the last one that I was at, I recorded 11 podcasts at that conference. And so I'm still releasing podcasts from that conference that was 2 weeks ago. And then I'm still doing my regularly scheduled show, my live show Wednesday nights. I just did one last night. And I'm also doing some extra shows where there's an organization called the National Society of IT Service Providers. And they asked me to join last year to help them market. So we just started doing member profiles of that organization.
Nice.
So I'm also going to be doing those as well. So they're going to be stacking up where I will be doing probably 3 to 5 shows per week for the IT Business Podcast.
Yeah, and it's Uncle Marv's IT Business Podcast. If you want to find it, I threw the link to it on in Apple Podcasts. If you want to grab it there, I'll have links for that and all that other stuff in the show notes. Are you do anything else? Do anything podcasting for fun?
So no, I'm podcasting for health. I also have
Well,
an
that's fun, right? Good health is fun.
well, if you're if you're happy and healthy. So yeah, I have an unhealthy podcast that I've
Yeah.
been doing. Um, I did a bunch of shows in January and February, the beginning of March. Took a little break. I'm getting ready to start up my next series of shows, and that show is really about anything that deals with health, whether it's our eating, our exercising, our mental state. I had a lady on last month where we talked about divorce,
Hmm.
and she's a divorce coach. So we talk about, how much relationships are an unhealthy part of our lives at times.
Yeah, that's for
So
sure.
we talked about that. Um, I had a girl on that was, her focus is 21st century medicine. And she was somebody who basically spent her whole life trying to be this professional athlete. She was a cyclist out of Canada, and she was actually training to be on the Olympic team, had an accident and never recovered.
Mm.
And turns out she had a bunch of stuff wrong with her that the doctors could never figure out. And she, I don't know the whole story, but everything from mold disease
Oof.
to chronic fatigue syndrome. She had what was that? I wish I should have looked up the notes there, but she had all these things wrong with her that she actually ended up leaving Canada, coming to the US, and going to medical school herself
Oh,
to figure
geez.
out what's wrong.
Wow. Yeah. Self heal. Did she is
Yeah.
she figuring some stuff out? I hope.
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah.
yeah, good.
She did. She's symptom free now, and she's got a whole system on helping others. She's got her own private practice, and it's basically this 21st century medicine. She still believes in traditional medicine when it's needed. If you break your arm, you're going to a surgeon,
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
doing
yeah.
that sort of stuff.
Right.
But she just says there's so many things that the insurance based health system just
No.
isn't designed to fix.
Yeah. No. No, you gotta it's a combination, right? You gotta do some things for yourself. You gotta go see your doctor, though. You gotta get regular physicals. You gotta still do some of the got the dentist is super important. Like, taking care of your teeth, actually, the teeth are the entry point for a lot of really bad things that happen
Yep.
that can and if you keep your teeth strong, and you have good, dental hygiene, it doesn't mean it needs to be perfect, just kind of need to keep keep it, so what I found out, and it took me until my 40s to kind of figure like, hey, if you just go on a regular basis, it's a lot easier
Yeah.
than trying to make up. It's like, cramming. You can't cram for your cholesterol test. That's something you can't, it's not a test you cram for,
No.
right? So it's good to be. We've talked a lot about that on this show, good. Well, it's good to catch up with you, Marv. Okay, I want to tell the listeners. I want you to listen carefully. Okay, what we're about to talk about, Marv and I. Don't write this off as soon as I say something. Right? There's tech involved in this, but I think you're gonna like this. So just make sure. So hang with me through this. Don't go anywhere right away. But Marv, we know from some of the things that you've been well, we've known several times on your podcast, you talk about the Florida man.
Yep.
And Florida man does this, Florida man does that. But wait a minute. Are you telling me they have Florida man games? Could you
Yes.
let's talk what is this? Florida.
So this is exactly what it sounds like. That whole phenomenon called Florida Man, when you type in Florida Man and a date and you look for the crazy stories, they came up with this concept of we're going to take these stories and turn them into a game. And the first one was last year, and I thought, okay, that can't be real. That can't happen. It was phenomenal. 10,000 people showed up at this little swamp in North Florida to do this. And we're talking, evading arrest obstacle course, weaponized poodle noodle, Florida sumo, cage match, and beer chug. This year they added some games, human beer pong,
Oh boy.
where people were literally encased in a bubble and had to knock each other over. They had a hurricane party prep, which was a grocery aisle brawl. They actually set up these aisles that looked like a grocery store, and you had to go through and grab items as if you were getting ready for a hurricane. This year they had a mechanical gator instead of a mechanical bull.
Yeah,
They
you had
made
to
it.
ride and you had to
Yes.
ride the gator, grab it by the mouth and ride it. Did they
So
have was there a Waffle House involved? A
there
Waffle
was
House brawl
there was
involved
not a
in this?
Waffle House.
No Waffle House.
So last year when they had it, of course, I talked about it. And for those that don't know, one of the regular segments on my IT business podcast is I share a Florida man story. And we even went so far as to I invited guests to challenge Florida man by finding a local story in their area to match whatever craziness I could come up in the last few weeks. And so they said, you should do the Florida games. And so I said, okay. So I sent an email to the person that created the games, and he said, sure, come on. So I went to the Florida Man games this year. It was March 1st. And I have tons of videos and pictures and stuff that I'll give Jim a link to. And I went, and it is just as crazy as it sounds.
Wow. And I love the headline for that. I hope I didn't close it. Shoot. Here it is. I love live the headlines without the jail time.
Yeah.
How many people show up for an event like this?
So there's about 10 grand. I mean,
Okay.
it's a full day. It
Yeah.
starts early
Yeah.
and goes into the night. And I actually only ended up staying half the day.
Okay.
Because I just didn't plan properly, first
Yeah.
of all.
For the hydration and for the that kind of
Yeah, the hydration, but I also did not plan for so I went as a podcaster. I was going to go there and take some video. And when I read all the instructions, we didn't think we could take a table or a tent or anything like. I should have.
Okay.
We could have set up and did everything great. And so after a while, it was like, you know what, I'm done. I was pooped. So we did have a little station. I had a sign. I had an Uncle Marv Florida Man game sign.
Yeah.
I brought gear so that I could record interviews and all of that. But it was, and the wife went with me.
Nice.
And so she helped.
Did she have a good time, or will she go back next year? Will she do it again with you next?
She probably won't go back next year because there's another gentleman who is also a podcaster that'll go with me, and we will go in proper podcaster style and have the right cameras and all of that stuff.
The gear that you bought this year, we're going to talk about that here. This is where the tech stuff comes in. So hang tight. It's coming. It's coming. Don't leave just yet. The tech you bought this year, I assume, will carry over for next year as well. You're thinking, right?
Yep, and I'm actually using it for other stuff as well. So it's not just for the Florida Man games. It's actually, I've been trying to figure out a way to do offsite podcasts and be able to film them, stream them, with not, something better than just a laptop and a webcam.
Yeah.
So I was trying to find that gear where I could do multiple camera angles and all of that. And I had the Logitech Mevo cameras for a while, and they just never seemed to work when I needed them to.
Do what? And you don't think going with like GoPros would for stuff like this? I mean, it seems all these YouTubers are just using GoPros.
Yeah, but they're not like podcast ready.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought about that and I went and looked at them, and they're great for on the go action type stuff. And we might use them to record some of the events.
Yeah.
But in terms of
sure would be
but in terms of just sitting down, recording, interviewing somebody, the GoPro excuse me.
No, you drank the water wrong.
Yeah. They're just not a good interview style camera.
Yeah.
So I've purchased the Rode Interview Pro cameras. I mean, microphones, and those are pretty good because you can record directly to the microphone, or you can use them with a Rode interview device like a Rodecaster or this new thing that I bought.
You're talking about the lapel. Yeah, I'll get to that here in just a second. Are you talking about the Rode lapel mics? Or
no, they actually have full handheld microphones. I probably should have gotten a link for that as well.
That's all right. Before, as you're doing that, let's spend a little time though. Like the center of all of this, and this is interesting because I think some folks, this Rodecaster video, right? It's a video switcher. These things used to cost you 5 or 6 or 7 or $10,000 if you were gonna go with black magic boxes or TriCasters to make this work, and now you look at it and you go, $1,200, that's a lot of money for just a video switcher, but it g historically, comparative to the, not that long ago, not a bad deal. How did it work for you? And tell me why you got this one.
So the reason I got this one, I'll start with that, is there was two things. One, it actually records the audio as well as the video, and you can record it separately like a podcast and extract the audio, and that worked great. And two, it was that multi-camera feature with auto switching, meaning that if you set it up properly, you can assign a camera to a microphone so that when somebody speaks, it would automatically switch without me having to hit a button or anything like that. And I said, you know what? Rather than get a recorder, get a separate switcher, all of this stuff, cables, I'll just get this one thing. And I reviewed it for about a month and said, yeah, this is it. And it works great. It does record. It's not super high quality, but it's better than recording with your phone or with a Yeti mic.
The microphones are not super high quality, or the signal coming into this isn't, which
Now, what I mean is they're not for now. So, like I said, I use the Interview Pro wireless,
Mhm.
and they're decent for what they are. But if you hook this up in studio to, a Shure SMB or Rode
Yeah,
Pod
yeah,
mic, it's going to sound just as good.
yeah. I do love the video switching component about it. It was something that we used to get for free, and it still works if you have a paid version of the Google. They don't call them Hangouts anymore. I forget what. Do you remember what Google calls
No,
their
I think
Office?
they're still Hangouts. It's
Are
a,
they?
yeah,
It's they kept that brand, and the camera switching worked really well on that. We used to
yeah.
use that all the time. It was voice activated. It would do some wacky things where it would, if when you there was crosstalk, right? It struggled sometimes to keep up. Any problems with the Rodecaster video on keeping up with the did you get a chance to use the camera switching on it?
So I didn't use it while I was there.
Okay.
Um, I did try it here in the studio, and it worked fine in the studio. So without any distractions, any other noise. I took it to a conference before Florida Man Games, and I was stuck in the vendor hall where it was all vendors around us, and there was food. So there was all the eating and clanking of dishes and stuff, and the auto switching just didn't work there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I bet.
that's when I realized, okay, this is not, to be taken out in the wild and have all of the fancy features work the way that you want them to. But
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
still, if you get the right cameras, it is still a good device, and you can manually switch if you need to. Or what I ended up doing was just getting one camera and focusing on me and my guest with a still caption that
Yeah.
worked just great.
Sitting side by side
Yeah.
kind of deal?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Did you use let's show this camera. Is this one that you took to or bought for this just for this purpose or
So yes, and the reason that I did that, so the Rodecaster Video has 4 HDMI inputs and 2 USB inputs. So I ended up connecting my Logitech Brio webcams to it, and it worked. But I wanted the nice features of an HDMI, and I didn't want to spend $1,000 for one of those cameras that all the real people that do video talk. The Sonys and the stuff. They're $1,000. This was at the time I bought it, it was a sale, so I got it for a little less than four.
Oh, that's not bad. It's a
And
$500 camera
yep,
normally, right? Yep.
and
What is how do you pronounce this? What kind of camera is this?
Osbot
Okay.
Tail. Actually, it's a Tail Air, right? Yep, the
Mhm.
Osbot
Yeah.
Tail Air NDI,
Yep.
and it. I bought it because it, was a small enough camera to connect to a tripod, so I could stand it up, and I thought all of the zoom in and zoom out features would be cool.
Yeah.
And
Was
it
it?
took me a while to figure it out. So if you don't practice enough, the zoom features can drive you batty
Yeah.
because I remember when we were doing an interview and I had, two of us side by side. And literally, if I didn't keep talking and the other person talked, the camera would literally zoom in to the other person and
Uh-huh.
I'd be
Leaning. Hey,
yeah,
hey, don't forget about me. Don't forget about me. Hey, I'm over
um,
here. I'm over
yeah.
here.
So
Yeah,
there is a
yeah.
way to lock in a camera position, or you can set up scenes with it. It needs to be connected to a laptop or a handheld controller for those. But once I figured it out, the picture quality is great. The other thing with this camera is it can also connect to Wi-Fi and live stream directly from the camera.
Mhm.
So I figured, you know what, I may use that in the future. So that was another reason to get this particular one.
Yeah, we used one similar to this. This style has gotten kind of popular. Big optics, like it has a nice size sensor that's in
Yeah,
it. That's one of the and then of course it's got a gimbal like arm for those on audio. It's got a gimbal like arm, swivels, tilts, pans, zooms. So it's gets you in four dimensions.
yeah,
And, some of them have, remotes that you can use to remote make sure the battery's working in the remote. That's another frustrating thing. We use these at conferences, and we would zoom out and zoom in. I always had somebody else operating the thing because I did not wanna be trying to talk and push buttons and figure it out.
right.
But the real application came out of conference call rooms where they would sit and autonomously find people in the room, and then it would
Yep,
move towards the person speaking, which is super creepy, by the way, when you watch that when you're on a Zoom call and the camera's just moving around in a room. In most cases, most of the rooms, at least that I have gone in or I have seen that have been using these, they've disabled the feature and they have this really nice 4K camera with all they've turned them all off and it's
yep.
just a giant picture of the room, right? Type deal. So that is too bad. Good. Did you like quality? It worked well for you?
The quality is fantastic. Again, you may need to get in and tweak it a little bit, and there's an app that comes with it. Just out of the box, it starts out looking clear, but depending on your environment, the lighting and stuff, you could end up just kind of a blah lighting situation. So there's a ton of features where you can go in and tell it if it's, day, night, inside, outside. You can change the contrast, the brightness, and all of that. But once I figured that out, it's a very nice camera.
Yeah, the video we're showing right now, of course, th these are all live shots of people doing things outside. So it'll follow you around. You can train it on you. Okay, follow me. You tell it to follow me, and then it'll follow you around whatever you're doing. Or they show some folks cooking, a cooking show on the video or whatever, being able to hook that in. So yeah, I think really versatile from that perspective. Can sit it down or hang it upside down to get
Yeah.
I think you can flip that around if you wanna do it that way, right? Pretty versatile. Would you buy another one?
So I'm not sure yet. I may buy either the lesser version of it, just the regular Osbot tail, or I may look for a couple of other, standard HDMI cameras where, maybe they don't do all of the zoom in and zoom out for, the second and third cameras and stuff like that. So I haven't figured that out yet. So I only have one of these,
Oh.
and I've been using my Logitech Brios for the other scenarios. But I think I'm gonna try to buy all in the same family so I can use the same app instead of having to switch back and forth.
What can you to that Rodecaster video, can you stream your iPhone to it?
Yes, yes, you can.
Yeah, yeah.
Let me rephrase that. I can record. I can like use an incoming, music or
Yes.
call or something. Yes, that can come in.
Oh, okay, but, you can't use its camera
No,
as a oh, it's too bad.
no, it's got to
That
be plugged. It's got to be a device that plugs in, and I think
mhm.
the iPhones don't have. You know what? There may be a cable for that.
Yeah, there may be. I mean, Elgato has got all that stuff kinda working for you can use the apps and then Restream. I can't get it to stop picking up my phone
Oh,
when I connect it once, it was pointing up to the ceiling or sometimes it's just a dark camera. It picks up my phone first.
Mm.
And so that's a really I don't know, I don't know if I'd wanna have my phone up, like this the whole time. I used to do more things on my phone when I was podcasting. I don't touch it anymore, so certainly that could work. It's a really nice camera for that, so it'd be a good use of it for sure.
I'd almost have to consider getting a second phone just for that
Yeah,
because of
yeah,
all the
yeah.
other apps and
Right,
stuff that pop up with the alerts and the
right.
all of that stuff. You'd have to put it in focus mode and turn everything off.
Yeah. No, for sure, for sure. Well, you gotta power all this stuff. This is where I get really excited. If you've been listening here, that I've been spending a lot of time thinking about power. And, it sounds like you picked up some mobile power to take out with it. Did it come the picture comes with solar panels. Of
Yes.
course, we're talking about an Anchor, Solex, right, is how they pronounce it,
Yep. Uh-huh.
a C300 portable power station, 288 watt hours, and a 300-watt device. So, if you got 300 watts, it basically lasts about an hour. That's kind of the way that works, maybe a little bit less depending on the conditions. Anchor's done some nice things in this space. Talk a little bit about what you picked up and why you got what you did.
Yeah, so I had been looking at Anchor. Actually, there's a backup version for the house, and I was looking at that as opposed to getting one of those Generacs or something like that,
Yeah.
where I could do that. Um, they have some full house versions that actually could power a house up to a day or a day and a half on a full charge. But then you could have the solar panels that you could just do that. So when I saw this, when I was looking for something to take with me up to the games, I saw this and I said, "Ooh, that may work." And the price alone was enough for me to say, "Oh, I got to do it." And so I tried powering up all my gear and just leaving it plugged in, and it actually went about 4.5 hours, almost 5 hours, with just a charge where I didn't need the solar panels. So
Yeah.
I figured having the solar panels would really work. And it was a great day, full sun. And I actually had more people ask me about this than anything else because they saw that I was powering everything through this.
Yeah, so you're probably running okay, in that scenario, you're probably running 75 watts for all that equipment or so
Right.
to get that kinda length of time on it, maybe a little bit less. The panels that you got, so right now on Amazon, this is 370, and they got a $90 coupon. So, you're under $300 for a 300-watt device. It'll surge up to 600. So you can, if you got something that, takes a little more power to get started, but then that comes down, it'll do it. It comes with a 60-watt solar panel, for it. So, Marv, in your case, you could probably on a sunny day at Florida Man games. I almost said Burning Man, and then I almost said the burning Florida Man. The because that's probably happened too, I'm sure. You could go all day easy. I
Yeah.
mean, if you're off this kind of thing, and probably charge a couple phones while you're
Yeah.
out there type
I
deal.
mean, it's got, as you can see through the pictures, if you're watching the video, it's got three regular outlet plugs. It's got multiple USB cable
Yeah.
plug-ins.
Got a
It's
light
got
up front there,
it's
right?
got a light. Yep. It's got the AC adapter. I was quite happy with this.
Yeah, it's a good little charger. This is a space that's because I've been following it. It's super competitive right now and has not got hit by the tariff taxes just yet, right? They're not technically taxes, but you guys know what I mean on that. And so there's been a little battle. I mean, a lot of companies came in, a lot of solar products, a lot of solar batteries have come in. They've been battling each other. And of course, Anchors, I think I would put them in the top 5 of these battery devices. They seem to be making pretty good devices out there, along with the Blue Eddies and some of the others that are doing their thing. This is for I think for an individual interested in seeing how this works, this would be a perfect battery to get started with. Look at those solar panels, you're not putting out full time you're not putting them outside your house
Right.
full time, right? This is take it with you. It's to charge the battery while you're out there. I think your situation's a perfect one
Yeah, that was
for
it. Or if you're gonna go camping, this
yeah.
would be the
No, camping,
companion.
I'd say, when you're out there at Florida Man, you could, you'd have enough power to sell some phone charging services for folks, or at least, hey, charge your phone for free, kind of thing. If people, now, I don't know if somebody would come and drop their phone and leave, like, to get it charged, right? They don't
No,
want to stand there the whole time either.
and
So
there's tons of places to plug in, so it's not like,
okay,
I
yeah,
would have a premium service.
yeah. Yeah. Well, it's, I think it gives you, some it would get you through the day with the panels. It would probably get you well beyond the day for some of the stuff, and leave you some headroom for $300. That's a pretty, you got to feel pretty good about that, right?
Yeah, I did. I like I said, once I saw the price and it was Anchor, I said I gotta do it.
Yeah. Yeah. No. What,
Especially with the solar panels. I mean, that was the other thing. The solar panels are usually, another $100 with all
yeah.
these other products.
Yeah. Well, and I go back and forth on this solar thing, and for me, the real value would be to put, I have a south facing roof that's angled perfectly for solar panels. Just got a new roof. I don't want to drill holes in my new roof for solar panels. And to be honest with you, it's a break even proposition. But I have thought about, in all the generator work that I have done, I have thought about the batteries. They're, you know, to run the house full time and what I need, including the air conditioner, it's about $7,000 in batteries to make that work. Right now, I can get those for about just under 6,000 because of the price stuff that's going on. If you kind of watch them, and now, do you need that? That's to run the whole house. That's to have the air conditioner running, some of those kinds of things, and then I'd back it up with a generator. So if it was going to be a multi-day, I did have some thoughts, like, these portable solar panels are getting pretty good too. I might want to stack some of those in the garage. And then in a power failure, my driveway is one of the best, uncovered, no trees, bright. I mean, it is a perfect spot. And you would think during a power outage, bring the portable panels out, lay them out on the driveway, plug it into your solar, into your battery, and get some extra juice. Would you have any issues, Marv, with the power outage of pulling out solar panels to help with the power outage, just to have them out for the time that the power's out?
I wouldn't, and part of it is the way that our house is situated. We would have them, behind our fence. It's not
Mhm.
like people would see them, so that would be my biggest fear is that,
Mm.
somebody would come and,
Steal.
take my
Yeah.
solar my solar
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I have a really good neighborhood but people, and we're all staring at each other's stuff all the time, to kind of protect each other. But I get it. Somebody drive down the street and go, "Oh, I could use these," kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah,
But in
yeah.
terms
Good
of
point.
when I
Good
was
point.
looking at that whole house system,
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I've only I've only been in one situation in a hurricane where we've been without power for more than a week, and most other times it's only been a day or 2, and so part of me is like, "You know what? That system would work perfectly." I That's
The
where I'm
one
like,
you got, the 300-watt
well, no,
version
not
that
this
you
one.
got.
No, I'm
Oh,
talking about
okay.
the bigger version.
The bigger versions. Yeah.
Uh, because part of me is like looking at the cost and the installation and the amount of real estate to put in one of those Generac,
Yeah.
whole home
They're expensive.
systems. I mean, they're an eyesore. The
Mhm.
Anchor ones basically can fit. They're the size of a trash can inside your
Yeah.
garage.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I explored that a lot, and you'd have the same problem. If you want to run air, you got to make sure you have the right kind of air conditioner. And then you got to make sure that power draws enough, and you got to get the battery sized enough so it can start that air conditioner. Once it gets going, it's not as bad. It's that initial burst of, it's that burst of power. The good news is a lot of these solar, or a lot of these batteries, these backup battery or whole home backups for the batteries, they have really big, um, surge wattage. So, 5,000 watts of battery backup but it can surge to 10. Generators can kind of, gas generators can kind of do that, but boy, when you give them a surge, those things bog down. You hear them kind of, they're
Yeah.
gurgle as you're really pushing them, and there's no guarantee they're not gonna quit on you at that point. Then you got to go back out and restart it. Some of those kinds of things. So I'm contemplating having both at some point where I've got something in the house on the battery, and then I still have a gas generator. And if it's going to be extended, I'm going to run the house off batteries. But then when the batteries need to be recharged, I'm just going to fire up the generator and
Yeah.
charge it back up, type deal. That seems to be the best of both worlds. Okay, enough on that. Anything. Well, I shouldn't say enough. I'll let you decide. Anything else on the battery?
Now the battery, like I said, it was perfect. You can buy a separate, bag for it if you want to protect it and stuff. And it was nice.
It's a cool space. They have a lot. I mean, this if you like to geek out on that kind of stuff and taking power with you, now is the time. There are some really good portable generators that
Yeah,
are out, and especially in this size, 300, 500, 800 watts. There's some really, really good
yeah.
stuff if you're going to take camping.
And
Okay.
I should probably have said one more side note.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah, yeah,
I also took it with me to my last conference, and where I actually have a table set up for my podcasting stuff. Now I don't have to worry about where is there an electrical outlet.
for sure, for sure.
You
Did
know,
you
I
plug? Did
just
you plug it in though? Did to keep? Does it? Well, one, does it have pass through power? So can you pass the power
It
through
does
while
have
you're
pass through
using it?
power, yes.
Okay. So that's good. Can it act like a UPS? So can you, if something happens and the power goes down while you're using it, will it keep the things running? Do you know?
I've not checked for that, but I
Okay.
imagine
Okay.
that it would.
I think most of them are doing that now. I think you certainly want to check. I'm using a Blue Eddy version of that now, and I use it as a UPS device that way. So that can work that way as well. At the conference, did you charge it at all during, or did you just run off it the whole time?
I just ran off it during the day. I actually shut down my equipment when I would walk away for lunch and other
Yeah,
stuff, so I wasn't podcasting straight through.
yeah,
So it did last me the whole day there, and then I just took it up to the room and charged it
yeah,
for the next
yeah,
day.
yeah. Okay, yeah, you can get twice what you have, and it's still carryable. And then some of the bigger ones have wheels. Yeah,
Yeah.
pull up they're like big suitcases. So, anything else on that?
No, that's it.
Okay. One more thing on equipment that you bought, and Ed Sullivan talked about this a couple shows ago when he was on. But you picked up one of these, and these things are cheap right now. Like it's 85, let's say 86 on Amazon, $20 coupon. So we're at $65 or whatever, whatever that works out to be with tax. Um, but you picked up a 15-inch USB monitor to take with you.
So, yeah, so once I realized what I was doing with the Rodecaster video, and if I wasn't gonna be live streaming at the time, I wasn't gonna be able to see what does the picture look like.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
Rodecaster video has a HDMI out connector, and I didn't want to take a big old monitor with me, so I found this. It's basically just a little larger than a tablet, and I plug it in. It's powered through the USB and HDMI, and you get a full clean picture, so I can see what the Rodecaster video is doing with all the camera angles and everything
Wow.
like that. So that's why I
Was it
got
bright enough outside? Was it
yeah,
bright enough? Sometimes
yeah.
that's the hard part, but that
Nope.
worked for you?
I had no issues. We were not quite in full sun, but it was enough that I was probably 10 feet away doing the interviews, and I could still see it, almost like a little monitor on a stage where you
Yeah,
can look down and see
yeah.
what the picture looks like.
Did it come with the right cables then too, that you could just plug that right into the
No, I had to
Rodecaster video?
it came with
You had to
one
buy
cable. I had to get my own HDMI cable,
okay, to
and it
get
comes
to
with a
okay.
USB cable for charging.
Comes with a stand, right? It's got a built-in stand
It's
for it
built
as
in. Yep.
as well. Um, so did you have a laptop open as well during any of this time, or were you completely running it off of the Rodecaster video?
At the Florida Man games, no
Yeah.
laptop. I ran everything off the Rodecaster and
Fun.
this display.
Wow. That's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
As podcasters, we're always like, we always got our laptop with us and we're running some kind of video capture on that. But the fact that you could run it through that device I guess that says a lot. I mean, the fact you could do the whole thing on it. I think sometimes we think of those as much like we think of our audio, devices where no, it's we're plugging that into a laptop to make it work. This all worked all on its own.
Yeah, it was good.
Dan says, Dan Lefebvre's out there in chat. He said the Rodecaster video seems great for live stream, but very expensive for those who don't need it for live streaming. Are there any features worth the cost if you're not doing it live?
So I'll be honest, I've only live streamed off of it one time. The rest of the time, it has been recording the video. And I think where it made sense for me, I was looking for a portable option to take with me with the multi cameras. But I think this really makes sense in studio if you were trying to run a production with multiple cameras
Yeah.
and it's just you.
Yeah.
Because most places you have to have somebody else doing all of that stuff. You can set up everything ahead of time on the Rodecaster so that even if you had to push the buttons to move cameras, it would do that for you.
Mhm.
And the fact that it records the audio as well, records the video, that's basically all you need.
We were doing live events for a while. We've taken the year off, so I won't every summer, I've done a live event for work and done it in various forms. We've done man on the street kind of things. I've done table like you would at a conference, interviews that way. This last time they set up a separate sound stage and we had different camera angles. I think if I was going to do live in from a corporate perspective, I would tell them I need one of these and I need a producer. And that would be because I think this would be a perfect situation to make it easy on a part-time producer as well, to be
Right.
able to come in without knowing very much and be able to push a few buttons and have a lot of that stuff happen automatically. Curtis, who helped me, a good friend of mine who helped me do this last time, he'd love that. Like he'd be like, "Dude, this is cool. Can I do that?" Now that's live. That's live stuff. Marv, I wouldn't if it sat on my desk, it would largely get wasted if it was full time, on my desk, I would think. Don't you think for a regular
I
podcaster
think
or
for a regular podcaster, yes. I mean, even here in my studio, my stuff is set up, and I've got my Rodecaster Duo here. I've got my tablet. I've got my camera, my multi monitors. I mean, I don't want the Rodecaster video here, but I'm thinking of a secondary location where I want to do a sit down style interview where I'm not in front of a desk.
yeah.
It's that studio feel that you see when people are just in two chairs talking. That's where I see the benefit of something like the Rodecaster video, where you set it up and you can have that feel, that studio feel, without the
Yeah.
studio price and commitment.
Yeah. I by the way, I don't for what that like said this in the beginning, for $1,200 for what that does, it's a great price. Like that used to be that was a ton more equipment to do what that thing does. And not as elegant and not as small. I mean, it's amazing where we've come with video switchers. Those things were, you know, every camera had a Blackmagic box that was, the size of a Nook
Yeah.
computer, right? And then and you had cables going everywhere, and it was a lot. And then you had to have special monitors. I mean, I remember going to the Microsoft Studios in Redmond one time, and each one of those cameras had its own little monitor. They'd make the little Blackmagic monitors for that so you could see what was coming in on the thing. And then you needed a video switcher, and they always had the one with the big handle.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Felt like you were engaging hyperdrive with that thing.
Now,
Uh,
the funny thing, we didn't even talk about the fact that if you did hook up your laptop to this, and you could probably do it with the HDMI monitor, you can actually see two different scenes of what is on the other cameras and then what's live. So that, yeah, if you had somebody that was actually producing for you, they could be doing stuff in the background on this device through the laptop, and you would have, in a sense, a full production studio.
would you go touchscreen? Did that monitor that you bought, the inexpensive USB monitor,
Uh-huh.
touchscreen or not or no touchscreen? Does it
I did
allow?
know on that. I did know on
Okay,
that.
so no touchscreen. on a laptop doing this kind of thing, if you were gonna say get a big monitor with it, would you want to do touchscreen or would you want mouse control for something like that? Do you think?
Personally, I would want mouse control, but I could see somebody that's really proficient and loves touchscreen. I could see that being a thing.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about, switching cameras and stuff, how nice it would be, to just touch the screen to flip between cameras or do that kind of thing.
Well, there's a little screen on here. So if I don't know if you're going to go back, but there is a
Yeah,
display
yeah.
screen here that you actually touch to do a lot of the programming if you're not connected to a laptop and stuff. So to switch between microphones, to check the
Okay.
storage, to change scenes, you actually do a lot of that. So having that
Yeah.
touchscreen capability on a monitor or a laptop would probably just be the same thing.
The one frustrating thing about a touchscreen, and you've had this happen to you, is where you touch it and it doesn't do its thing. And then you touch it even harder, and then when the third time you touch it, you push the monitor
Right.
over. Right, we have these Jira coffee makers at work now that have these little tiny touch screens, and you can make about 4,000 different kinds of coffee on it. It even has a wheel that you can spin, and it gives you all these options. And you're supposed to touch these things to make this stuff happen. And lately, listen, this thing, I mean, it gets thousands of touches a day. And lately, I've noticed, I don't know what's going on, but every once in a while, I get a screen that just says, "Take your finger off the screen." It's like my finger's not on the screen. Like I'm not touching you,
Yeah.
but it thinks something, some residue, or it's been touched too many times, or somebody's been poking it really hard.
Yeah,
So
I've
I
never
that's yeah.
been a fan of touchscreens. It's just me.
Right.
Listen, I fought the mouse when that first came out. I don't know if you remember, Jim. Back in the
Mm,
original DOS days, everything was
right.
keyboard, and to
Keyboard shortcuts, yeah.
take my hand off the keyboard, I thought that would
Uh-huh.
be slowing me down.
Yeah. Yeah. I liked the mouse on day one. When those things started to come out, I'm like, "Oh, this is great." But I was never a great keyboard. I struggled. I mean, the era of computers made me better at keyboarding. Like, that was and I've continued to get better over the years. I was a terrible typist before computers. And I remember I bought like before this would have been I started college in 93 and I bought a little brother word processor for college because I was poor. I didn't have the money to buy a $5,000 computer right in those days. So I bought a $400 brother word processor little laptop thing and wore that thing out during college. But when I finally got a computer with a mouse, probably 95 was my first, a 386 with a mouse. I was like, "Oh, yeah, this is gonna work." So, but I get it. I get it. I get it, Marv. You keyboard, you what do they call 'em? Keyboard warriors? No, what are they? Keyboard
That's social
commanders?
media.
Yeah. You
I'm not one of
guys
those.
no, right on. It's, but I get it. It is I don't know. I like touchscreen. I have of the 11 or 12 monitors that I have down here, 1, 2, 3 are touchscreen. Is that right? Yeah. And 3? Yeah. And I use the touchscreen on the home automation dashboard, which makes sense, but I do find myself taking the mouse over there and click on those instead of touching it. And then I have a 24-inch touchscreen here from the old days of when they still made those kind of things. And I could touch it, but it's just easier to put the mouse up there.
Yeah,
So I don't know.
I'm good
I
with
don't
the
know.
mouse now.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else on that monitor have you what besides a conference or even the outside event, would you use that? Would you plug it in and use it as a monitor, a regular monitor for you?
The only time I've considered it is as a second monitor with my laptop
Mhm.
and doing an extension there. To be honest, I couldn't think of another purpose for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I actually almost didn't buy it. My wife was like, "Just buy the stupid thing."
Yeah. I'd have
No.
it plugged in full time on my desk, just to be honest with you. I would use it like a desktop monitor on something here. It would become a extra monitor for something. And
Yeah.
then when I needed it, I just unplug it and take it with me. I'd have it in a spot where it could just easily unplug it and take it with me.
Yeah,
But to own something like that, I'd want to use it all the time. But I'm a Mac.
that's where I'm considering getting a different laptop bag so that I could take that with,
Yeah.
and that way have a second monitor on my laptop so I could literally, pretend like I'm back in the office with my two screens, even though
Yeah,
they're
it's
both
nice.
they're
Yeah.
both two laptop screens.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you well, it's still helpful. I mean, sometimes it's helpful to get something over on another screen. If you flew with that thing, do you think you got to take it out of your bag?
So I fly TSA, so I haven't had to take it out in a while. So I don't think so.
TSA free, or when you say you fly, you got the TSA pass, or
Yeah,
you go through the regular?
I go through the TSA line, and we don't have
Okay.
to take stuff out.
Yeah, I haven't flown in a while, so I don't know, but yeah, just kind of wondering. For a while, I flew with. I'm so dumb. For a while, I flew with two laptops, and so you're getting there, and and then you're getting the eyeballs, like,
And people
dude,
are like, yeah,
like,
like, could you be any more of a geek?
are you trying to compensate for something? Was basically what that made me. And I'm trying to think, why didn't I take two?
So I had two
Hmm.
tablets once and forgot, because
Hmm.
I had my regular tablet for work, and then I had a tablet with me for my podcasting gear, because I have a tablet that I have that will, do music. I had a soundboard on the tablet,
Yeah.
and I had two tablets in my suitcase and forgot. And I was doing the carry on, and I remember going through, and the person's like, "Who's got this tablet in here?" I'm like, I didn't.
Who left? Who? How dare you? Like, okay, strip search. You're like, that's not necessary. Not necessary. Dan says, Dan, thanks for coming out tonight, by the way. He says, I've got a little monitor like that, different brand though. Very handy to have a monitor that you can plug into with a single cable here and there. And that's the
Yeah,
beauty of it, right? Is you don't have to find power for it.
right.
Right? You can in an airport, you can plug it, or on the aircraft, you can plug it in. I think it's handy when you're sitting and you don't have anybody sitting next to you, and you can put both trays down, have your laptop on one and the monitor on the other.
Yeah. I mean, you're still going to get eyeballs then too, because
For sure you are. For sure.
but you can have a movie
Wrong.
streaming on one and then work on
Oh,
the other.
yeah. Gaming, whatever, whatever you want. Yeah, no, for sure. Marv, anything else on we're good on time, but anything else you want to add to that conversation?
Check out my video on Florida Man games
Yeah,
and
yeah,
see
yeah,
what you
yeah.
missed.
Yeah, so Marv has a video that he made. He's gonna give me that link. I'll have it in the show notes so you can check it out. theaverageguy.tv/HGG642 is this, and we'll have that, and you can go watch it.
Yeah, listen, I know it's goofy, it's stupid, but to be
No,
honest,
that'll be
the
fun.
Florida Man links are the most clicked links in my show notes.
It's because they're hilarious.
And it's one of those things you just had to experience it once. It's like
Yeah.
everything else, it's just one time.
Is it worth coming down to Florida just for the event?
There is an interview that I did
Yeah.
where this gal came down from Ohio,
Okay.
and she was all about, heck yeah, I flew down here from Ohio.
Oh, wow. just for the Florida Man
Just for
event.
the Florida Man games. It is a spectacle. I
And
mean,
what city is this in?
so it is west of St. Augustine.
Okay.
It's called the St. Johns County Fairgrounds, and it's an appropriate place for the characters you will see.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll leave it at that without making anybody mad by characterizing anybody in any terms there. But all right. Well, I have to check it out again. I'll get the video link that Marv made to his YouTube channel, and we'll put that in the show notes. And you guys can head out after the program here, after you're done listening to it or watching on YouTube, and watch it. It'll be good. What's coming up for you, Marv? Anything?
So let's see. I've got really just a whole bunch of podcasts from the last conference, and I am. Oh, you're probably gonna love this. I am starting another podcast.
What? That's surprising to me. What's it going to be on?
So it's going to be a podcast that's going to be locally based. A lady and I are going to get together and we're going to do interviews locally,
Yeah.
Florida business, entertainment events, and it's just going to be a Let's Talk Lauderdale type
Yeah.
thing. And we're going to use it. We were sitting talking like, we've been here. I've been in Florida now. This would be 30 plus years in Fort Lauderdale. And the city has changed so much, and I've not been involved, networking wise or what. I've just serviced my clients, and we don't go out and do that much. So it's like, you know what? I need to see what Fort Lauderdale is all again. So we're going to talk Fort Lauderdale. We're going to talk South Florida. It's going to be one of those kind of half entertainment shows where we'll talk about events. We'll also interview local business owners and promote business in the area. And I may use it to try to get a couple of clients and see where it goes.
And you're on. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
And we're probably going to do a Florida Man Travels segment where we go and visit the state of Florida. And
you're on the west end of the state or the east end of the state? Or
I'm on the east side.
You're on the east side. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good. Some good stuff. Good luck on. I think your Florida Man stuff may take off, and you may have to just go full time Florida Man podcasting for whatever. Maybe on the local side of things that'll pay off. The local's tough, right? I mean, the numbers will never be very big just because of the population that you have for it. But I think those can be really fun. Like I think that's a chance to really lock in local and meet some people that are in town and do some of those kinds of things. When I did running events and I did, those kinds of things and I podcasted those, I got to do some interviews with some folks in town that were pretty big deals. And no one had ever asked them to do an interview before because they're local heroes, right? So that kind of made a nice relationship. And I still see those folks today at events and stuff and like, oh, hey, what's going on, Ivan? Or whatever. And they've remained friends. So I think there's a lot of value. I don't think the numbers will ever be giant, right? But
no, and all of my podcasts, I've not really done the numbers, and I'm good with that. I realize that I'm not out there trying to get the 10,000 views sort of a thing. Low numbers, high engagement is really what I'm looking at.
Yeah, those are the best. I like that kind of. Even my work podcast, we do our best as 250,000 downloads a year. So it's enough, right? It's pretty good, but it gets really high engagement. And I like that. I like that way better than I like, just blasting out the stuff. I think people are nicer on that. They're super nice here. So if you're listening to this podcast, I consider you a part of the nice group. So thanks for doing that, Marv. Thanks for coming out tonight. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for being my friend, and thanks for the great information. Appreciate it.
Thanks for letting me share some Florida Man stuff.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. I hope everybody made it to this point at the very end. I hope you got here. And again, just a reminder: those links for all that tech and for the video, as well as the Florida Man games. Check it out in the show notes. Now, Marv, can you hang with me for 1 second while I close this up?
Sure.
A couple things coming up over the next couple weeks. Erin Lawrence is back next week. I always love having Erin on. She's fantastic. Uyghur is right behind her, and then Ed Sullivan is back for his accessories show, and then Gavin Campbell's coming back on with. He just Marv, you like this? I don't know if you geek out on this, but he just replaced his electrical service. He went from 100 amp, I think, to a 200 amp service, and they redid all the wiring and they did a beautiful job. And there's something about a panel that's wired nicely, the breakers and stuff. You get into that at all? Are you interested in the home wiring stuff?
When we moved into our house, we had to redo the panel because it was the one that was here was full.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if it was 100, but we also did the 200 amp panel. Unfortunately, I didn't do anything with it, and it does not look pretty.
Oh, that's too bad. Shoot.
But I can say having the bigger panel, having that extra stuff for all the stuff we've added, because we added a second circuit for our air conditioner. We did a split circuit for that. Some stuff for the pool pump.
Yeah.
Um, wh- when I moved there, I actually didn't have this office for the business, so I ran my tech shop out of our third bedroom and
Yeah.
garage.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And you had enough power to get it done. It's too bad. I watch, I know this could sound crazy, but maybe not. I watch electricians on YouTube do the work that they do. I like that. And the good ones who, especially on a panel, you have so many opportunities to route the wires and kind of make art out of them,
yeah,
right? Just in the way they do that. There's nothing like a good wired panel for me if they, if it's clean and the stuff is wired well. I said this before when I opened up my panel a couple months ago, I couldn't remember if the guy had done it in a hurry or if it was a good job or not. And so I'm taking the screws out and I'm like, what am I going to see? Is it going to be a mess? And when I pulled it off, it was really clean in there. And I was like, yes. And I think Gavin got a similar deal. So he'll be on here in a couple weeks to talk about it. And then right behind him on the 15th of May, Mark Robson is back. The big grill and barbecue show.
oh,
It's going to come hungry. No, don't come hungry. That's probably a bad
he didn't
idea.
get a new one, did he?
I'm sure he has a new one by now. He can't come on the show unless he has a new one. So he's going to have some stuff coming up. So that's May 15th. You want to join us live for that one as well. We are live. Well, I should before I do that, don't forget the Average Guy.tv, powered by Maple Grove Partners. Get secure, reliable, high speed hosting from those guys. It's Christian and his dad. You know that. And Christian they just had their baby. So congratulations,
Oh,
Christian,
congrats.
for that. Mom and baby are doing well. He sent me a few pictures. We'll have him. He gets a couple weeks off for that, and I'll give him some time. And then we'll get him scheduled for maybe June sometime. Have him come on and talk about being a brand new tech dad, which with Christian, he's going to go all out
Yeah.
on this thing. So congratulations, Christian, and for that, and we'll have him on here in a couple weeks. We are live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, although that may change to 7. Marv, let me ask you, if we started this at 8 Eastern, would you be okay with that? Is that all right, or do you prefer the 9?
Well, personally, I would prefer the 8.
Okay. All right. Well,
But that's because we're in a different time zone.
No, right on. I mean, but for some people are night owls, and they're like, oh, I'd rather do it late. And others are like Ed, like last week. Ed, he'd start at 5 if I let him. He's got an early bedtime. So I've been asking folks. I think I'm going to make the cut over. We'll do Aaron next week. And for the folks that I've kind of said, hey, we'll do 7. We'll probably start the next couple at 8, and then I think I'm going to shift to 7 Central, 8 Eastern. So, but for now we're starting at 8. TheAverageGuy.tv/live. Love to have you join us live if you're just a regular podcast listener. Dan, thanks for coming out tonight. Brian checked in a little bit earlier and said hi. Joe was out there as well. Good to see all of you, and we'd love to have you out here. Thanks for coming out. If you came out live, thanks for joining us. Marv, again, thanks. With that, we'll say goodbye, everybody.
Holla.
Marv, thank you. Very nice. Appreciate that. Thanks for staying up late for me. Well, next time you're on, it'll be 7 or it'll be 8 Eastern for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm going to make that switch.
One of the guys. I have a podcast to publish and I have a newscast to get ready for tomorrow. We're tackling tariffs and tech. So I've got one of the industry analysts coming on to talk about what he thinks all of these tariffs will mean for us.
Yeah, 145% on China today or something like that. Could you imagine being a port authority and all of this? And I didn't realize there are what do they call them? Port brokers who their whole job is to handle the incoming and outgoing and handling all the bills and the tariffs and the whatever taxes, whatever has to be done. That's just their whole job, just to make sure. And even they're confused right now of because it's just changing hourly. Right?
Well, yeah, because think about the stuff that has sat in the port that hasn't gone out, and there's boats sometimes that have to sit out for an extra day or two. And it's like, okay, well, they came in before, but they haven't left yet. So which rate are they under?
Yeah, what's the because it yeah, because there's a rule, right? It's only apply if it's already underway, the tariff doesn't apply.
Right.
But when it leaves the port is the tariff in effect, right? And then it takes a while to get there. Can they turn them around? Like there's just it is you could literally over the last, I mean, you think about something leaving one port, it could be at sea for a week or two or three. It could have gone through 6, 8 tariff changes
Yep.
before it even got to the port of entry. Like, what are we paying on? And well, okay, yeah, I guess the tariff starts when it originates, when it leaves, so they would know for sure. But you just think about like it's just been nuts. So
Yep.
one of the hard drives has been one of the things I've been watching, hard drives, and those things immediately went up 30, $40, like the bigger ones. They went up pretty fast, almost immediately. So that's something I've been did okay. All the things we looked at tonight though were didn't have a price change on
No.
some of these things. So I mean, with the exception of the Roadcaster video, which was it's $1,200. Everything else still, that monitor is $85, $65 if you buy it with the coupon. Like, so there are still deals out there, don't you think?
Yeah, there are. I mean, I was looking earlier today, so I bought 6 computers for some Windows 11 upgrades that we're doing. Um, and I still found a pretty good price, but the inventory is low.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think is it time from a tech perspective, do you think it's time to stock up on and order some stuff now, or with the way these things are being thrown around like weapons, do you think that it's all going to go back in the next couple weeks to a fairly normal rates again once they're
Well,
negotiated, or
that's
I don't
kind
know.
of the question I'm going to be asking, our analyst tomorrow,
Okay.
because what I think is happening is we're having, the COVID effect
Yeah.
where people are just scared, and I believe a bunch of people stocked up on tech,
Yeah.
where from a business perspective, all of those business desktops were probably purchased in anticipation of going up 40% for, client sales. So I know that there's got to be a store around the corner from me that's probably got, 150 desktops
Yeah.
that they're not going to sell that I could use right now.
Right.
So I I mean, here's the thing. I think prices will go up. I don't think I think there will be some leveling off where it won't be as much as we think it is. But we've done it. This happens all the time. Anytime there's an inflation, anytime there's a supply
Yeah.
chain
Yeah.
hiccup, it does happen, and we're fine, and
Yeah.
it'll level off. So that's
Well,
kind of
this
how I'm looking at it.
this has been forecasted for a while. I mean, we've known since last fall, if if when it's not like Trump has not been saying he was going to do this. He's been very clear what he was going to do, and then even post November we kind of knew this was coming. So you kind of know, like you said, P, I think some folks have stocked up. Joe makes an interesting point that depending on where this goes, inventory could get a little sketchy around October, because just as the supply chain
Yeah.
reacts to all of these things,
Yes.
right? There's a
Yep.
lot. There's a lot in the supply chain already, and so, and of course, well, I mean, also in October, right? This is when Windows 10 machines go out of, you know,
Yeah. So the Windows 10, Windows 11 issue, I'm taking with a grain of salt because Windows 10 is not going to stop working.
right?
Same as Windows 7. Same as there are going to be people that are going to just wait and see, and they're not going to change until they have to.
Yeah.
And unless they're under some sort of compliance, most don't have to. Um,
Well,
I'm trying to be
Microsoft. Go.
I'm trying to be proactive and tell my customers, you know, for cybersecurity's sake, we need to keep you up to date.
Mhm.
And so most of my clients are getting it. I do have some that are, if they're dealing with branch office computers that aren't, you know, on a domain and they're just using that station to remote in, they don't care about those stations.
Yeah.
So
Um, I for a lot of enterprises, they're gonna pay whatever. Microsoft's gonna like, we knew this with Windows 10 that they offered this, "Hey,
the
here's a
extended
fee.
support.
We'll extend it for a year." You could get that extended up to a couple years, and then they definitely cut it off.
Yeah.
So there'll be folks who are able to do that.
And
Dan says
it's not a ton of money either if you think about it. You
no.
know, it's like $300 for 3 years. So I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. It's not terrible to do it that way. Dan says, and I've been doing this too. He said, just started testing some different Linux builds on my Windows 10 systems that can't be upgraded. I've been testing some too. I did some Ubuntu and I've been doing some other things just to see. And then, but I upgraded my Windows 10. There's that little hack that you can do. There's a registry hack that you can do to what he's showing me there. Marv?
so I got this. This is what's called a 45 Professional Pro client. It is a Linux-based box. It's a division of 45 drives.
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I, to be honest, I've never worked on Linux. And so I got this box and I'm going to have somebody help me out and I'm going to see what it is and what I can run on it. I got this as part of a community promotion that I was in. So it's actually branded with my podcast
Yeah.
logo.
Yeah.
So, um,
Well, listen, you can go to Linux and I don't think it's a great experience going from Windows to Linux. Like I've got some machines that are running behind the scenes. They have crypto things running on them. I never interact with them. They just need to be there for file storage or whatever, right? I think Linux is good for that. Now, if your job is all in the browser, then it doesn't matter what OS you're running for the
right.
most part. If you just go into the browser, and Linux is fine for that. To be honest, you can use Android for that and be just fine. Like it works great on an I think everything just disconnected here. Can you still hear me?
You're back.
Okay, good. So it didn't like the word Android apparently. It just
How dare you?
how dare you use Android? So, especially on an older PC where you don't have a lot of resources, Android works great. There's a couple things you can do. Um, I use the Windows hack that allowed me to disable when it checks for the TPM requirements because that's really what I'm short. I have enough RAM, and you need to turn off the processor check and the TPM check. And
Right.
there's a little hack you can do, and then you reinstall Windows 11 on top of that. It gets past that, and I have a couple machines running Windows 11 that don't have those requirements. You can push it past it. Now, will Microsoft break that at some point? Maybe. Like one of those failed, and it's now trying to fix itself. And I've tried to do some things to make it work, but it's back to checking that it's doing the TPM and the processor check, and I can't seem to fix it. The other ones are still working just fine. So that's one of the routes I went is to go, and it's pretty well documented out there how to get past that. I don't know if Microsoft will close that down. They may close that down here at some point where
They
it
will
doesn't
at
work
some
anymore.
point.
Yeah, yeah. But I tried to get everything. I have a Surface Pro 3 that I put on the so that's super old, right? And I put that on the Insider program, and it's still they've upgraded and it's still doing just fine on Windows 11. So there's some other ways around that kind of stuff too. Dan says, we'll end it on this. This is so far, Zorin, is that how you pronounce it? Zorin OS is a great alternative, Ubuntu based, but designed to look like Linux or Windows or Mac. Yeah, one of the things I noticed when I was testing all these Linux systems is just how much like Mac they're like.
Right.
I mean, you go, oh, I've seen this before. This looks like my Mac. And then Joe says, have one of those two. I think what you were referring to there, but supposedly it won't get to 24H2. Or maybe not. Have one of those two. Joe, what are one of those two? I don't know. It's okay. Marv, hang tight, guys. Listening live. Thanks for coming out. We're gonna call it quits. We'll see you guys next week with Aaron Lawrence.